The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Thursday, the 23rd day of June, 2022. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindo's. I'm Jamal Hartman. She's Sentra Durham, and Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Sentra, how are you today, sister?
Good morning, Jamal. I am great. How are you today?
I'm all right. I'm feeling good. It's Thursday. I love a good Thursday. Don't ask me why, but I love a good Thursday.
The eve to Friday.
See, I don't like Fridays as much because then I don't get to see all of you guys and be rude. I mean, communicate with you and just get it on. But I gotta ask, how's Maddox doing on this fine Thursday?
Maddox is amazing on this fine Thursday. Looking forward to, the weekend. He's going to race this weekend. So,
One quick question I had, Maddox Sancho's son, folks. I have one quick question.
okay.
Since he thinks the carnival people are girl gumbies, right? Does he ever ask, why do the girl gumbies only come out once a year and the gumbies come out almost multiple times?
Well, no, we actually had to break it down this time around because he's a little older. So he wants to know why he has to go to practice, every week to dance for age, and when do they practice, and why don't they have real routine? So I was like, well, they're not real Gumby. They're not Gumbies. They're actually just people participating and dancing to music. So they do not have, any sort of it's not organized. And he was
Got
like,
it.
yeah, but he still wants to call them Gumbies. So yes, we had that question this year.
All right, girl gumbies, no more, folks, no more. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Premier of Bermuda, the Honorable David Burt, to the show. The Daily Plate is a name that place. This is a pretty cool and easy one.
You say that every time I'm on here. This is an easy one.
Because it gets easier by the
Okay.
conversation. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to help my sisters. I help my sisters. Which one I gave? Sherry got yesterday's on the buzzer. She got yesterday's on the buzzer. So, yeah, I think you'll get today's before the buzzer. That's what I'm going to do. I'm building that confidence.
Let's have it.
All right, let's have it. So, folks, we've got Premier David Burt in the background. The question this morning, just want to really ask the audience. It's a very simple question. What concerns you most about the state of Bermuda? The Premier is here to pretty much address your concerns, engage with you about your concerns. So what concerns you most about the state of Bermuda, the current state of Bermuda? What concerns you most? And this is your time to pretty much share with the Premier what concerns you most. What is top of your list? Because as has been said in many side conversations, people seem to have concerns. The Premier meets with his constituents and he feels, well, I spoke with my constituents and, they shared their concerns. But I think one thing, and I believe he's speaking about his constituents as in the ones in his area who can vote for him. But when you're Premier, your constituents are really the entire populace, the electorate, the people of Bermuda. So this is your chance. This is your opportunity. What are your concerns about the state of Bermuda? Santa, can I go first?
Of course.
Okay.
Let's have it.
All right. My number one concern about the current state of Bermuda is I honestly don't know what's being done to move Bermuda forward. Mm-hmm. That's my number one concern. I don't know what exactly is being done. But let me say this before anyone jumps in, oh, do you listen to the House of Assembly? I don't anymore, but I was one of the very few in my, I guess, circle that would. And the reason I used to is because I actually was really interested as to what was being done, what work was taking place during the time that, conversations should be had regarding the state of Bermuda and what's being done. Truthfully, I'll tell you why I stopped what I'm listening. Number one, I just don't have the time, right? But number two is it really seemed a bit juvenile at times. Like I couldn't tell if I was listening to primary school, not high school, but primary school children argue, or if the work of the people was really getting done. But my number one concern is I don't know what the plan is to move Bermuda forward. And that could be on me. Maybe it is those talks are happening. Maybe all of you tuned in today know what that is, but I don't. So that's my number one concern. You have anything, Sandra? Oh, please be honest. I saw that face. That face was like the first episode she was on, like, let me hold back. No, please don't. Please don't.
Jamal's getting to know me very well.
Yes, these faces.
So I asked this question because, I wanted to hear from everyone and what their concern was. So I put this question up yesterday on my WhatsApp status we want to hear from the people, right? To see what those concerns are. And I did get a lot of feedback, which was definitely what I'm feeling. Cost of living in Bermuda, and that's always going to be a concern, right? Where we live. I had someone tell me about daycare and housing of cost of living, and then one that's special to me is small businesses. We are charged the same amount of duties and in some cases taxes that a lot of the other bigger companies are paying. I know with Scoops we had like a hell of a time trying to get lower duties, and it's those things that are, how are we supposed to operate, how are we supposed to, especially in this climate after COVID, stay afloat. It's difficult. We have lots of concerns, Jamal.
And before we go to the audience, do you think this is any different from any other time in the state of the country? Meaning, would we have just as many concerns under Premier Michael Dunkley, Premier Paula Cox, Craig Cannoniers, Ewart Brown, Sir John? Just name a premier. Do you think the people at the time had just as many concerns? Or if they did, it's just, how they say people had certain battles then and we have certain battles now. It's just we have the same amount of battles and concerns. They're just different.
I think that there's always going to be concerns, no matter, to be fair, no matter who, is premier, there are always going to be concerns. No matter what party, there's always going to be concerns. But if I'm speaking honestly in this space, I feel that there is a lot of unrest at the moment. I feel that the public, when it came around to voting, everyone was gung-ho because there was really good work that happened with the COVID situation. Well, people, they felt it was really good work. And then it was the opportunity, let's have an election. People voted because they felt what had gone on in the previous few months was great. But I think since then, there has been a change in narrative.
You know what's interesting? You mentioned COVID, and I remember people were in love with the PLP, the David Burt administration at the beginning of COVID, called the election, everything. And myself and a few others, I just didn't see it the same, but I'm just miserable and grumpy. And then after that election, people started to react differently. I feel like, and I'm not going to say Bermudians got played. I don't want to say that, but there was an editorial in the Royal Gazette some time ago, and it was regarding the premier saying, it was basically taking him to task about being the smartest person in the room. And I say this not to disrespect the Bermudian people, but sometimes we need to be told the truth, and the truth hurts. If you treat me like I'm the smartest person in the room, then I'm going to treat you like I am. Like, yeah, I am. And for me, that level of criticism, like, that is, I don't think he sees it as a criticism. It's a compliment, because he did what he wanted to do. He led his party to a crushing victory at the polls, because you all fell, not fell for it, but you all were led to believe in what they did during COVID. Now, a large majority seem very concerned, overly concerned about certain things that existed prior to COVID, during COVID. So, I actually said that the Bermudian people don't deserve this. And people came at me, and I didn't understand the responses at the time. They said, no, Bermudians deserve exactly the government that they have. And I challenged it, but I get it. And it goes along to say that, I'm you all know I'm not that guy. I'm just not the, sweetest cookie in the jar. I'm just not. But it takes time to understand perspectives, and I get it. I get it. And to me, the premier and the government per se just reacts based on it's like a relationship, essentially. You know how they say a man or a woman or a spouse is only going to do what they're allowed? That's no different with politics and leadership. They're only going to do what you allow them to do. Let's go to the comment. Sam Cat plays.
I want to ask you something really quickly about what you just said.
Yeah.
Now that you are in business, what is one of the things that they tell you? If you are the smartest person in the room, you need to do what?
Remove yourself. You should never be.
You need to find another room.
You need to get another room. Like, remove yourself from that room. Get another room. You should never. That's not a compliment. If you're the smartest person in the room, it's not a compliment, folks.
You need a new room. That's
seriously.
a fact.
Sam Cat plays an Ebony Sousa for you.
Economic, tourism, frivolous spending, rising prices, no forward-thinking progression, always backwards, and not listening to your people. And like I said, I feel like the narrative has changed, and people don't feel like they're being listened to at all. And I hear this on a regular basis. So our aging population, health, financial, education, insane cost of living, state of roads and surrounding foliage really can't place a number one. Too many concerns.
Chica Trot says cost of living in Bermuda is what concerns her most. Renee Simmons, I'm like you, Jamel. Everything, one concern leads to another. Chica Reyna says new industry for Bermuda. Yes, I remember back when Premier Paula Cox was in the position, and she was asking questions about another pillar, because it's still IB and tourism today. But I know that crypto is seen as a different pillar. So I credit them with trying to do that. But the premier did answer in I think it was a BBC interview last week, when asked about the crypto basically being like, it's being crushed right now, and he expects it to bounce back. So that's something that, if it works out, can be something special. Media Maya, our colleague, says, I'm concerned young Bermudians are not coming back home from university, and those here are packing up to move away. Well, talent's not always appreciated at home anywhere in the world. Tanya Cheeseman says, the level of violence in Bermuda, we can't forget that. Sam Cat Play says, yes, Jamal. Yeah, notice I said Jamal, not Jamal. We got played by the PLP. That is the bottom line. I appreciate you saying that out loud. So many things have transpired since which, and is very Lasky that's Lasky? Laxy, very laxy in his concern or care of all of us. And we'll talk to the premier about that, because it does come across as in sometimes he just doesn't care, or is just oblivious, or we can have that conversation. He's pretty straightforward. Sean Smith says, what appears to be little movement in fintech, more particular digital banking, also banking laws and forcing them to disclose their hidden fees. I see that a digital bank, was it Jewel Bank, was announced last week or week before?
Week before last.
Yeah, week before last. Michael Daniels says the lack of meaningful participation by the general public. This concerns me as well. I believe personally that if a lot of things that were taking place right now, Sanja, by another government, there would be parades. And you all know I refer to them as parades because as one of my former professors said, when the BIU was marching against KFC some years ago, and we were watching it in my class, I said, here, it was a labor relations class. I said, this is a current march in Bermuda. And he said, I must say Bermuda has the best dressed protesters union protesters in the world. I'll never forget that. And it said a lot to me about Bermuda. Michelle, wait for you.
It may be more about the time we are in, but the concerns were more easily identified under previous administrations. To capture concerns now could only be wrapped under, I don't see the big picture.
Mm, mm. You know what? Let's bring Leanna in early. Let's bring Leanna in for the news break, and then we'll bring Premier David Burt in. What I will ask people, right? And I don't know why people say this to me, but I'm saying it to you all. Please, I want to get through as many questions and comments as possible, but do your best to keep it respectful, no cussing or any of that stuff. We do have a bleep button, but that's for people on here. Obviously, we can't bleep your comments or questions. So just keep it respectful. Get your questions in. We'll get through as many as possible. But let's bring Leanna in so she can do the news break. Good morning, Lee. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm feeling great this morning. Had a wonderful, restful sleep. So, up and ready.
Those are good things. I like your
Love
shirt.
to hear it.
Well, what's that color? Like green and maroon or brown?
Are you talking about the top? Are you complimenting me on the top this morning?
Well, you all say that. I don't compliment and I don't notice stuff. So gee.
Thank you. Yes, we've got a bit of pink. We've got a bit of this nice brownish color in there, some blues, turquoise. I'm feeling bright and bubbly today. What can I say?
We love to hear it. Do you want to take us? And I'm doing this because I just want to do it to you. So, what are your thoughts? Do you want to put a stab at Bermuda and the Premier?
No, I really am going to sit back and
Okay.
watch from the sidelines. A lot of the things and concerns that people had, brought up, I'm here for. So, I'd like to hear his responses. Yeah.
All right, Lee, over to you.
All right.
Just so safe. I love it.
Thanks, Jamal and Sancha, and good morning to everyone that's tuned in with us this morning. I hope everyone is having a great start to this thankful Thursday. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for the Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Well, 6 years on, and police are still seeking the public's help in locating and bringing to justice the killer of 30-year-old Craig Crockwell. Now, yesterday, police renewed their appeal for information in connection with the murder of the talented athlete who was fatally shot minutes before 3 a.m. on Monday, June 20th, 2016, whilst on Woodlands Road in Pembroke. Now, police say at the time he had just left a party with a group of friends. The gunman is believed to have been waiting in the vicinity of Woodlands Road and De Silva Close in Pembroke when he approached Mr. Crockwell and shot him. The gunman then tried to start a black Honda motorcycle, CF116, which was parked nearby. Police say that the gunman was unable to get to the motorcycle and get it started and jumped off and ran around in the immediate vicinity looking for an escape route. Now, they say that the gunman was chased by some of Craig's friends north along Woodlands Road before they lost sight of him around Usit Road in Pembroke. Now, the gunman is described as being brown complexion, approximately 6 feet tall, slim in his 20s, wearing a black helmet with a black visor, red shirt or jacket, dark colored pants, and dark colored shoes. Police are appealing for witnesses or anyone who may have information, no matter how insignificant it may seem, to contact the Serious Crime Unit on 295-0011 or the Independent and Confidential Crime Stoppers Hotline on 800-8477. In other news, Bermuda officials are assisting the U.S. Coast Guard as it searches for 2 American citizens who were reported overdue after departing Virginia, heading for the Azores, with U.S. officials stating that they are working with our counterparts on the island to accurately determine the most intelligent search area for their air crews. Now, a U.S. Coast Guard spokesperson said that the Coast Guard is looking for 2 65-year-olds who are and have failed after to return to on Monday from a sailing trip to the Azores in Portugal. Now, missing are Virginia Beach natives Yanni Nicopolis and Dale Jones. And on a topic that we've been discussing for the past week or so, the rate of inflation. Well, the results are in. It has been revealed that the cost of some food items has increased by almost 30% in the past year. Now, according to the latest figures released by the government's Department of Statistics yesterday, that show that the price of some meat, fresh fruit, and vegetables rose sharply in the 12 months up to March this year. The Consumer Price Index recorded that some items, such as top ground beef, frozen spare ribs, imported lettuce, all rose by over 20% and apples by 13%. Now, the figures came in by the cabinet after meeting yesterday to discuss moves to provide financial support for families struggling to buy basic groceries. Details of that meeting of ministers has not yet been revealed. However, according to the figures, there have also been significant increases in the cost of vegetable juice, canned tuna, and milk, although some prices have also fell. Now, overall, the department said that inflation had risen by 2.5% in the past year because prices have remained flat or even fallen in other categories used to measure the index, such as rent. Now, fuel and power prices, we've heard, have remained steady since March, and the cost of tobacco and alcohol also fell. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 80 and a low near 70 degrees. It is a sunny start to this Thursday, but increasing clouds and chance for showers will progress towards midday. Now, high pressure continues to weaken, allowing an area of merging to our east to gradually approach the island. This will bring increasing cloud with the increased potential for showers beginning later today and possibly lasting through the weekend. Temperatures and humidity levels will gradually rise as the wind taps more southerly. That's all for our daily hour news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Now let's head back to Jamal and Sancha in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
My goodness, Leanna, I thought you were going on for like an hour today.
I apologize. There was a lot to report this morning. I needed to tell you guys what the cost of beef and frozen meats is costing us these days.
I'm going to just say though, right? I'm going to say, I think that was her contribution to the convo. If you get what I'm saying, audience, inflation. I was like, oh, Lee, I see what you did there. I'm just Sancha, what you got? What day of the year is it? Let it be good. Let it be good, please. You're on mute. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That
was him this time. I want you to know that.
I didn't want to hear what I had to say.
My apologies.
So today is International Women in Engineering Day.
Ooh.
It's celebrated June 23rd every year around the world to honor women in the field of engineering. It focuses on raising the profile of women who are changing the field of engineering one degree at a time. Now, I want to send a shout out to, I don't know if anybody knows Keontae Smith. She works at Belco.
Nice.
And I watch her WhatsApp statuses, and she's so small, but you see her in this big room with all men, and she's doing her thing. So shout out to her, who is a woman in engineering, and I love it to get someone. If anybody knows any other women that's in engineering, shout them out.
Shout out to all the women out there. Let's give them some lows. Give them that horn. Yeah. I'm just saying, Bermudians don't just do air horns. You ever been at a cricket game? They toot the car horn as well. Really? We'll check you later.
See you guys later. Have a good show.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with the Honorable Premier David Burt. Do not go anywhere. Trust me.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Hi, I'm Karen, a nurse at the old folks home. These long hours used to kill my feet until my hairdresser told me about a great place to buy a pair of clogs. Medical House. Finally, relief. They also carry uniforms in bright, bold colors And not to mention the support stockings.
Karen, Miss Saltus bet her bet again.
Oh gosh, these days, I need all the support I can get.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke.
Just in time for the heat of summer, John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's leading beverage distributor, is bringing back an old favorite, White Rock Sparkling Beverages. Maybe the trademark rings a bell with you baby boomers. White Rock Ginger Ale with the little caricature of Psyche, a mythical fairy-like character on the label, stood tall among the products of the big corporations. White Rock is a 6th-generational old family business who will bring back some much-needed old-school refreshment this summer. Try White Rock Ginger Ale in a rainbow of flavors in bottles and cans. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. She is Sancha Durham. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed on our website so you don't miss a chance for updates, promotions, prizes, and more. Also, if you're on the go and can't watch, that's okay. Download the BCG Radio app, available for both Android and Apple devices, and you can listen to us every single time we go live. Now, the Premier must turn his camera on so that we can bring him on air. Sancha, are you ready for a conversation with the leader of Bermuda?
I am ready.
You are ready. Premier, let's have this conversation. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning to you, Jamel. Good morning, Sanchez. Good to see you.
Good morning.
How's Maddox doing, Sanchez? I haven't seen him for a little bit.
Maddox is good. Maddox is always good.
Weren't you just in a picture with Maddox on Bermuda Day in the truck match?
It was Bermuda Day, but my son and him used to go riding bikes. Maddox is a star bike rider. I need to make sure I get my son back up to it.
Oh, something tells me you didn't teach your son how to ride, but that's another show.
I don't actually know how to ride well. That's one of my faults. I'm afraid of bikes.
The Premier has faults. Who knew? Look, let's get to the conversation. Tell me, you've seen hopefully you've tuned in earlier and you've seen some of the concerns people have, but you've been in this position, Premier, since July 2017. How would you rate the job that you and your administration have done? Unsatisfactory, satisfactory, good, or very good?
I would say, Jamel, that we've done a good job. We've been through a lot, whether it's pandemic related or whether it's doing the work which is necessary to provide support for people in the economy and making sure that we execute our election pledges. And so when I look at our promises that we had made in 2017, reducing the tax burden on the working class, knowing that people under this government has saved $5,000 if they're making $50,000 a year cumulative over time. We are making sure that we're putting money back in people's pockets. We're providing relief, and that's what we pledged to do, to reduce the burden of taxation on the working class, and we're continuing to do that.
All right. And, one of the things that, and this is kind of like a follow-up to that, a lot of side conversations take place in and about politics, especially leadership. What do you believe you've done to improve the well-being of the Bermudian people, especially the most vulnerable, right? Not that you have to tell them, but that they can feel. Because I feel in politics, and I've said this since Craig Kennaner was Premier, that in politics it seems like, oh, we have to tell people what we're doing for them. What is it that you believe people can feel? Now, you just mentioned putting money in people's pockets, but people still don't feel that, because as Liana mentioned in her news break just now, if the price of beef or food is going up, is it really more money? It's like if inflation's going up 11% and I'm getting a 5% raise, it's really one's canceling the other out. But what is something people can feel that your administration has done for them?
So, Jamel, here's the thing about when it comes to inflation. We cannot in Bermuda control global prices, and we can only focus on what we can control. So if I just take a look at gasoline prices, if we had not put inside of a gas price freeze, gas Bermuda would be $11.03 a gallon versus $8.86 a gallon. But going back to the issue of where we were talking about our drive to reduce the tax burden on the working class in this country, the argument could also be made that if we did not do anything to reduce the burden of taxes on the working class in this country, then those persons would be in a worse position. And so I have to look at what the government has the capability to do. It would be amazing if we could eliminate taxes across the board. It would be amazing if we could do things insofar as giving more, but we are in a very difficult financial position. That financial position is not made better by the fact that we had to borrow $200 million additional dollars for the Morgan's Point project and the money which we're paying for the airport. We have those funds in our pocket, we would be able to have and provide more relief. But we are providing the relief that we're able to do. We are making sure that we focus on having a strong economy, making sure that we rebuild our economy by executing our economic recovery plan. And some of those measures are working, as we see with Moody's ratings agency, and that will enable us to provide more relief that people can feel. And we've done relief that people can feel. Working people in this country are paying the lowest tax burden that they have ever paid since the hospital levy was introduced in the 90s or 80s. We are making sure that there is more money in working people's pockets, and we're going to continue to provide relief.
All right, audience, do you feel what the premier is saying? Audience, yes or no? Do you feel? We're a very engaging show. Do you feel that relief that the premier speaks of? Premier, I just Google. I'm not a top researcher or anything, and I put something in Google. Don't ask me what it was. Sancha's smiling because she knows what it is, and I shared it with the TDH family, our team, and it was a video of the late Alfred Wade, and I believe it was Arthur Hudson, and it got me thinking to ask you this question. While times change, different battles as generations come. But do you believe the founders of the PLP would be proud of the job that you're doing as premier? And if so, exactly what would they be proud of? And if not, why? Why not?
I absolutely believe that. And here's the reason why. I remember speaking when we were doing our 2020 election platform. And if you look at the things of which this government has executed, they are in line with what has been said by the founders of this party. Reducing the tax burden on the working class in this country, making sure that we introduce universal health care that is available for all persons in this country, moves to the increase the implementation of unemployment insurance, which is coming as part of our pension reform package. Those are the things that we had laid out in platforms that were not executed. And what I make sure that I do is look at the document in which we put in front of the electorate and focus on making sure that we keep our promise and execute our election pledges.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So one of my questions is, which I'm sure is a huge question that's coming from the public, Dr. Karika Weldon, Minister Curtis Dickinson, Minister Renee Ming, and now Charles Jeffers II, which all seem to be controversial resignations. Do you think this is a reflection of your leadership?
I'll say that I can't necessarily speak to Charles Jeffers, what took place in the Bermuda Tourism Authority. Dr. Weldon decided to resign from a position, and I think that she did an excellent and amazing job during her time. I was grateful for her counsel and her friendship, but people make decisions, and they decide to move on. In regards to matters of leadership, when dealing with the cabinet, I certainly do believe that that's reflective of my leadership. But I want to also recognize that I think that it is important that we keep our election promises. We pledged to lower the tax burden for the working class. It is something that I am not going to back down for. We pledged to make sure that we can rebuild our tourism industry and attract investments to this country. And it is not something I'm going to back down on. We have to execute our election promises. There has been a history in this country where we back away from tough and difficult decisions, which leads to us not being able to implement the changes which are necessary for a bright future for our children. And in this office, I'm going to make sure that we push forward and execute our pledges. There are some that says, what's the rush? Why are we hurrying to do these things? I think that the concerns which you've expressed are exactly the reason why it's the rush. People need delivery on the items that matter to them. Whether it is jobs, whether it's national security, whether it's community violence, they need delivery. And I, as a leader of the country, am responsible for pushing the cabinet to make sure that we deliver on items which are important for the people in this country.
And here's the challenge with all that you said for me is that if your election platform is written today and you've got 5 years, things change over a period of months, over years. And I think, and I'll just say this, I've said this publicly before. I think the One Bermuda Alliance made it too easy for you to just continue saying, oh, we're just here to check off what's in our election platform because of the amount of things that they said they were going to do and they didn't. Number one, a gaming referendum, right? They said they were going to do that thing where people can vote anywhere in the world. What's that called? The voting, having the ability to vote, distance voting, whatever it's called. But my point is, I think they've made it easy for the PLP and your party to say, no, we have a platform and we're going to just keep checking that off. My concern with that is things change, Premier. And like you said, there's global things happening that impact the economy. We've had Zach Munners from Lindos who's said what you've just said in terms of the price of the pallets going up because of wood going up. So we get that there's a global impact to this. But I also think that platforms, and I don't know if your party has done this, but they need to shift. They need to be edited. They need to meet the people and the times where they're at. So I don't think a platform from 2020, when we were in a pandemic, like the heart of it, would still be relevant maybe in 2022 and 2023. Don't that make sense?
I couldn't disagree with you more, Jamel. Individual circumstances may change, but core principles and policies do not. The Progressive Labor Party's election manifesto focused on reducing the burden of taxation for the working class. It focused on delivering universal health care and completing our education reform priorities. It focused on making sure that we diversified our economy. Those things do not change. Your core principles do not change. And though it is very easy to say that, okay, maybe we shouldn't reduce taxes because we can't afford it at this point in time, those are not things that I accept. I believe, and one of the things that you would note is that globally with social media and other things, there is a declining level of trust with the electorate and politicians. And I think that you enhance that declining level of trust if you do not stick to your core principles and if you do not execute the promises. We handed out platforms, our party campaigned on certain pledges that we would execute. Those pledges are not things that will change over time. There might be small things, but you're not going to say that because the economy is difficult, we're not going to implement universal health care, or because this is happening, we're not going to continue the drive to reduce taxation for the working class people in this country. I don't accept that. There are small things that come up, but the broad principles of which we were elected on are the ones of which we are focused on making sure that we achieve. Because Bermuda is a challenging place and we're in a challenging position. We're in a challenging position due to the economic state, which was made even more difficult due to the fact of the pandemic, but we are pushing through. And I think that you see that we can adjust to the times as we had, but we have to focus on executing those core principles.
Due to time constraints, I think it won't be the first time, but I think we're going to agree to disagree on that. I completely disagree with you, and I think you completely disagree with me.
That's okay. I mean, Jamel, this will not be the first time that we disagree.
No, absolutely not. But I understand you, but I just feel like it's not individual. There's a war going on.
Jamel, can I just ask a question? Of course there's a war going on. Our election manifesto didn't say that we're going to freeze fuel prices, but we froze fuel prices due to the fact that there's a war. So we adjust the circumstance that exists, but that comes from a core principle position that we need to make sure that we protect working people from the expenses and the challenges of which they have. And that is something that is important. And I think that the core principles remain the same. As long as your policies allow
the audience can get in, I just want to move on just so the audience get in. But I want to ask this question. If this pattern that the people seem to have with the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party as government existed while being led by a white government, history shows things wouldn't be so silent. People would be marching. And I mean, you've been a part of the march. I believe I saw you on December 2nd. Why do you think people don't react to you in the way that they would react to a Michael Dunkley or even Craig Kennan? What is it about the PLP and David? Are you benefiting from the history and struggle of the PLP where you have leeway to govern in a manner that people aren't happy with?
Here's the thing, Jamel. I don't believe that we have been absent from protests. I've had protests at the cabinet lawn. I've had clashes with union leaders and others. That's governance. In any time that you have to make decisions, you are never going to please everyone. That's just what governance is all about. But I also think that it happens to deal with the level of inclusiveness and consultation that we have. Let's look at the changes that we made to the immigration reform policy. We set up, as we said that we were going to do in 2017, a bipartisan body. We made sure that we went to consultation. When we're doing other changes, some things take longer because we go through consultation, and we need to make sure that we are addressing all issues that surround it. So I think that the public may, though they may not be in certain cases and instances okay with every final decision that is made, they can at least understand the process, the decision making that goes through in order to make that happen.
All righty.
But I can't agree with
What would you say to
Yeah, Sandra.
what would you say to those people who feel as if you do not take accountability for your actions?
I'm not entirely certain. I'm responsible for everything that happens under my administration. And the fact is that we've made errors and misjudgments at certain points in times, and we just have to press on through. That's the way that governance works. But at the same point in time, I can't dwell on the mistakes of which were made or the things which we may have been doing differently, because every day that I get up in this job, there is a new challenge. There is something else that we have to execute upon. And that is the responsibility of government. I hold my cabinet to a high standard, just like I hold myself to a high standard. And that is to work hard to do what the best we can for the people of this country every day. And so I'm not going to get into don't accept responsibility or certain things. We can acknowledge the missteps of which we've made, and we can make adjustments when we make those missteps. But we have to continue to press forward to execute on the pledges of which we made, which are making sure that we reduce the tax burden for the working class of this country and put ourselves in a position to have strong and stable finances with a growing economy. That's what small business owners like you want, Sancha. I'm sure you want to make sure that you have more customers to come to your stores, that you have a better ability to function, and that you have a lower tax burden. And that's what we have to be focused on delivering.
All right.
Do you feel like the PLP's platform where we're at now is possibly going to eliminate the middle class as is?
Absolutely not. I certainly don't believe that. Sorry.
Yes, Sandra.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I certainly do not believe that it's about elimination of the middle class. I think it's about expansion of the middle class. What you want to ensure that you do is you provide sound education. Look at the changes of which we've done in education when we're dealing with math. We have math scores up across the entire country in primary school. I had my my 6-year-old was being able to name the national heroes and go and saw someone's shirt and was picking out names. There is progress that is taking place in education reform. And if you look at it, it is a collaborative effort of over 200 individuals that are working hard to deliver these changes. If we get education right, in the amounts of persons of which we've done by eliminating the resistance for people who cannot afford Bermuda College to go to Bermuda College enrollment is up significantly under our administration. That leads to better training, better jobs for the future. And so I do not believe that this is about the elimination of the middle class. I believe that our responsibility is to ensure a growing economy so you can have a growing middle class where more people are in work and more people have the opportunity to make sure that they can make ends meet to survive and to thrive in this economy.
All right, cool. Look, you mentioned that you pretty much don't have anything to do with the Bermuda Tourism Authority, didn't really have anything to say about Charles Jaffa's departure from the Bermuda Tourism Authority. But the BTA is being run with political interference. Why are you okay with this?
Jamal, that's your opinion, and I don't agree.
What's my opinion when a sitting MP is the chairman?
Okay, I'll say this again. That is your opinion. Political interference is a term that you use, and we've discussed this individually, and I don't agree with the way in which you use the term. I think that MP Wayne Keynes is a very, very good chair of the Bermuda Tourism Authority. I think that he is an excellent public servant, and I think that he demonstrates exceptional leadership in many circumstances. And the fact is, as you and I both know, as we've discussed, I think that it is important for tourism to deliver. I'm not going to speak on the circumstances surrounding that, as I am no longer the Minister of Tourism and I'm not privy to those items. What I can say is that it is a professional board, not only with MP Gaines, but there's a broad variety of persons from different backgrounds that are on side of that board, whether or not it is Butch Graves from overseas, whether it's Sheila Torini, whether it's Carol Blazer, whether it's Bashar representing the hotel industry, Joe Best and Risk, or Kim Swan, who has the Act for Golf. I'm not going to get into political interference. The board of the Bermuda Tourism Authority is there to ensure that the organization is doing what it needs to do. And so from that perspective, I think that any questions that are dealing with the specifics around that certainly needs to be addressed to the board.
I'm in disbelief. I'm in disbelief, and I'm just saying this to you, man to man, not premier to constituent, even though you all removed me from the register. But the fact that the Bermudian people are tuned in right now, and you can say that an MP, 2 MPs are on that board, and there's no political interference. And this is my concern.
But Jamel, political interference. Do me a favor. Define political interference for me. Define political interference for me.
A sitting MP.
And one second. A sitting MP, they're sitting. So are you saying that there's political interference at Belco because a sitting MP is there?
Belco is a private.
Are you saying there's political interference at different places because someone happens to have a part-time job as an MP?
Part of the problem, Premier. Part of the problem is I'm literally asking you, right? I'm asking you, how are you okay with political interference? You disagree it's political interference. I'm breaking down and explaining to you right now. They're sitting politicians making decisions in the best interest of the Bermuda Tourism Authority. If you can sit here to these people, not me, this isn't about Jamel right now, but if you can sit there and say it's not political interference, then go into one of the comments here. I'm saying, the biggest issue with you and your administration is transparency. Do you honestly believe that people are going to sit back and be okay with you saying 2 sitting politicians? I don't give a bleep what you think they're great at. Weighing cans is this and that. Many people disagree. This isn't about weighing cans. This isn't about Kim Swan. This is literally about you denying that political interference exists, even though 2 sitting politicians who take directives from you, the leader of that party, are on that board. Come on, don't do that.
See, that's where you're wrong, Jamel. That's where you're wrong.
I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. But
are you going to let me respond?
Educate me.
What you just said is take directions from you. In my time as Minister responsible for tourism, there is only one time that I got involved with things that were happening at the Bermuda Tourism Authority. And that was in regards to my specific desire to ensure that we promoted Cup Match. Outside of that, I leave the board to do what the board does. We do not interfere on a political level, and any chair has to be responsive to the minister. And so what I'm trying to say is, your view is that the Minister of Tourism or something is sitting there directing. That's not the case, and that's why I'm saying that I disagree. There are things that were done by the Bermuda Tourism Authority when I was the minister responsible for tourism that I did not agree with. Those are the facts. But I let the board make the decisions of which they felt were in the best interest of Bermuda tourism. And so that is the reason why I say that I do not agree, Jamel. And that's what I'm saying, because I can speak from experience. There are many decisions I didn't agree with. I don't particularly like the very high focus on, sailing and those things. That's just me. But I allow them to do what they feel is in the best interest. So we have a point of disagreement there. And that's
fair enough. One last question, Sancho. I know you got one last one. The last question you.
So Delegates Conference is coming up in October. How are you preparing for a potential challenge from one or more of your colleagues?
The only thing that I can do, Sancha, is work as hard as I can every single day inside of this job to deliver on our election promises. And I think that if we do what we said we're going to do, by making sure that we provide direct relief to persons who are struggling with the increasing cost of food in this country, in addition to the measures of which we've taken to protect people from the increase in gas prices and deliver on our pledges that we laid out in our election manifesto, we will continue. But here's the thing. If the Progressive Labor Party delegates decide to go a different direction, that's okay too. This is democracy. We survive in a democratic party inside of a democratic country where we have freedom of expression, where persons can come online, can challenge the leadership of the country and make sure to hold us accountable. So that I believe in democracy, and I'm a huge supporter of democracy. So I just press on with what we need to make sure that we do.
This show is about the people. Premier, Bermuda's not a democracy. No, the general public can't vote for you as leader. The leaders voted for by delegates. Come on, let's not do that. Anyway, Tamara Richardson, has the data shown that current methods at lowering the tax burden is working or changing the economic status of the working class for the better?
That's an absolutely great question, and that's something that's going to be analyzed in the upcoming labor force survey and household expenditure survey. But what I would say is that the facts are that persons in work are taking home more money out of their paychecks than they were before due to the policy of this government. And when we're talking about persons over the time of this government who are working class, taking home $5,000 more, that's an average of $1,000 a year, that does make a difference. Yes, there are also increases in other areas, but what you have seen over the past 4 years is that inflation in Bermuda has actually remained moderate. It has been below inflation in the United States and other countries. And part of that is the reason that where the other countries were printing money, we don't have the ability to print money in this country. So from that perspective, it's a great question from Tamara. But if you look at the fact that working people have more money in their pay packets, and what we are committed to do, as we said in the House of Assembly last week, is provide even more direct assistance due to the fact of our economic performance.
I know one last question. Alison Russell, this is something that's been very popular in conversation. With bank mortgage rates going up, will not help the middle class. I'm still waiting on our ridiculous mortgage interest rates to be addressed. What the bank's profit is highway robbery. Anything the government is or can do regarding that?
Interest rates are a very difficult challenge. We're currently right now working on, we did, I think in 2019, the Foreign Minister of Finance announced a mortgage guarantee program. When I came to the Ministry of Finance, that program was nowhere. I've picked it back up. We're going to be able to launch a pilot program, which will see a 1.5% reduction in interest rates for mortgages for a small group of persons. But my thing is that the relief has to be a lot more widespread. So we are working with international business partners who actually write mortgage risk in the United States to see how we can make sure that we can bring those type of things here. I actually have a meeting with Bermuda Bankers Association today in the Ministry of Finance to deal with those matters. So it's an excellent question from my constituent, Alison Russell. She certainly reached out to me directly on that matter. And it is something that was not being addressed at the Ministry of Finance, but we're going to make sure that we get it done and dealt with, because I think that it's important.
I have a message to share with you, and it wasn't told to give to you, but I want to say this. Larry Marshall Sr., you know Larry Marshall Sr., right? Mm-hmm. And he literally does, because you all know I'm a heathen, whatever. I don't go to church. But I do go to his church when I'm able, if I'm in Bermuda. And he literally prays for you every week. He prays for you because he wants to see you do well. A lot of people want to see you do well. And if David Burt as premier does well, the country does well. Nobody wants you to fail. But I think, Premier, people just want you to listen. They want to feel like you care. And I don't think, from what we get, I'm not saying this is Jamal Hartman's opinion, the feedback we get, people just don't feel it. I think Sancha asked the question earlier. So I want to go back to something I said. I know you got to run, but just as the last one, sorry, Prima, I'm so sorry. But Tamara Richardson says, taking home, let's say 5%, but spending 33% more on groceries, is this actually more sustainable? And that was my question. But I wasn't trying to go in on the inflation route, but I just wanted to kind of grasp like people feeling like while you're doing this stuff to help, is it really helping because I've always said, how does a living wage work without price controls? And as you said, the most honest statement you probably said was last week I read in the Royal Gazette, where, you pretty much can't, you can't control the pricing. You can't. And I think that's something that I think should have been said many years ago. At the end of the day, the government, it's not a private business. It can't do that. But what would you say to that as we let you roll out? Because I know you got to go get ready for cop match.
I do have a 9 o'clock appointment. I did actually be off 6 weeks ago, but let me just address the area in 2 ways. I saw Ms. Richardson's comment, and certainly there are certain food prices that have increased. And then you look at the basket of goods, and that's the reason why the government is committed to making sure that we provide direct food assistance, as I said in the House of Assembly last week, to working people to make sure they can make ends meet. But let me address the question again. Certainly Larry Marshall prays for me, and certainly a lot of other people do pray for me. The one thing I want to say is that it is not my success, Jamal. I lead a government of a team of very talented and hardworking ministers who bust their tails every day throughout it. I am the first amongst equals in that room. And so though I appreciate the, the view of being elevated, it is a government that is working day in and day out very hard. I can accept the criticism that some people say that they do not feel that I'm listening. I accept that. I can accept that criticism. And I understand where it comes from, because it comes from the fact that oftentimes I am so focused on making sure that we deliver the things which are necessary to alleviate some of the challenges that are historic inside of this country. So I certainly do accept where that criticism comes from. But what I can tell the people of this country is that there isn't a day that goes by that this government, not just myself as leader of the government, but also the cabinet and also the wider caucus, are not working as hard as we can to ensure that we deal with the issues that are broader, that are dealing with our long-term policy, but also in the near term as we're dealing with these other issues that are impacted by global events. So I get it. I understand where that criticism comes from. For me, it is a way that I approach things, that I am laser focused on getting things done. And that can sometimes come across as, not, seeing the wider picture. It's something that I've been told by other persons. It's something that I try to make sure to address. And it's something that I look forward to doing. I think one of the great things that the ending of the restrictions that ended at the end of March, it allows us to get back out in the community, back out on the doorsteps, back out into town hall meetings, engage with the public. You've seen a number of town hall meetings from the Progressive Labor Party. You're seeing more town hall meetings from the government. We've unveiled a youth employment strategy, which is being unveiled and discussed tonight at St. Paul A&E by the Minister of Economy and Labor, who's doing an amazing job in pressing forward a number of particular changes on the economic front. So we are certainly listening, but I do certainly accept the criticism, Jamel. And I'm not going to say it's an issue of communication. I would say that it's an issue of making sure that I remain focused, but also remain balanced, because I do have a young family. And I do certainly, when it comes to the evening time or when I leave work early, I'm not at some of those events or different things, because I'm trying to spend time with my family and to make sure I balance those things. So I accept the criticism, Jamel. I certainly do. And I'm not going to say that I'm oblivious to it, because I do understand that that's there. But what I can tell the people of this country is that the government works hard day in and day out. We are on the doorsteps. We hear the challenges. I have a very large caucus who are very vocal inside of caucus to make sure that we are keeping our eye on the ball. So I want to thank you for the time to interact with your team today. And I hope you have a good day, my friend.
Thank you, Premier. Have a wonderful day. Appreciate it. Alrighty. Premier of Bermuda, David Burt. Folks, if you appreciated the conversation, found it helpful or interesting, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. You don't want to go anywhere, because I'm going to wrap this up with Sancha after this break. Trust me, you don't want to miss what I have to say about this conversation in about 2 minutes. Stick with us.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system, providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping families safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
I'm part of the SSCP, giving us opportunities to go out and sell, which is what I'm doing today.
One of the most important things I learned in the SSCP is that failure is just a part of being an entrepreneur.
As a vote community, then you can't go anywhere, can you? I just believe it's a really beautiful and amazing experience for everybody.
A lot of late nights being up, trying to finalize things, especially for me.
You don't have to do everything at once. Little steps is the key to success.
They helped me go through every step of the way.
It has helped me gain more confidence, so that's one thing.
I'm Marley Spriggs, and I am an entrepreneur.
My name is Joshua Allen, and I am an entrepreneur.
My name is Trey Robinson Richards, and I am an entrepreneur. My name is Namira Rayner, and I am an entrepreneur.
My name is Vincent Darrell, and I am an entrepreneur.
I'm Shayla Swan, and I'm an entrepreneur.
I am Sophia Pasinhan. I am an entrepreneur.
My name is Zion, and I'm a young entrepreneur.
Whew. Yeah, welcome back to the big show. Thanks again to One Communications, Lindo's People, Shaw Mercy, Medical House.
I know Jamal's extremely passionate.
Why doesn't this guy get it? Seriously. And why don't Bermudians want more for themselves? Like, why don't we get it? Like, so much like you want to give up. What? I mean, the arrogance. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, it's more of us than them. It's unbelievable what we accept. Seriously. My heart hurts for Bermuda, man. Like, I actually care. But you all, like, you just let these people do what they want. What are you afraid of? You know, Dexter Smith said something, and you know, it's true. Like, not sure what's he's more disappointed with, the premier denying the optics that 2 MPs are on that board. Like, stop playing the people for fools, man. Seriously. And if you don't want better for yourselves, then I guess you do deserve everything you get. I'm in disbelief that this country is being run the way it is, and Bermudians are okay with it. As one of my mentors told me the other day, you can't keep fighting if everyone's just watching you. Anyway, let's have some fun and we'll wrap it up. Time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. Sancha, are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's an easy one.
Let's bring it down a bit.
All right, name that place. What country is the birthplace of soca?
Trinidad.
Okay, she got it, folks. I told her it was easy.
Trinidad.
Yeah, it's
Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a message saying Sunshine needs to sit up straight, but then the commercial skipped. I literally left that interview like holding my head. Like, one of the questions that I had that we didn't get to was how a lot of people feel that our country now is being run as a dictatorship. And when we have, I mean, this morning just kind of showed you that I don't know, Jamal, I'm mind blown. I'm mind blown at the answers. I'm mind blown. And I know the premier always says that, you know, he has a job to do and he runs, you know, it's hard being a leader, but the arrogance at this point to me is it's difficult. It's difficult.
That's an understatement. I mean, I'll say this much. I think people want any leader to succeed that oversees the interest of a country that they're in. That's just what people want. But to act as if a platform in 2020, checking off boxes, ticking off things, is still relevant in 22, 23, 24. That is the stupidest, I can't say that ever. Like, I feel like if we don't start reacting differently, and when I mean reacting differently, again, I'm being very clear here. If we don't start challenging what's being said, if we don't start getting in spaces that are public, like going to the house when it's open? David Burt, the Premier of Bermuda, was around taking pictures Bermuda Day. All you got to say is, nah, no, bruh. You haven't earned the right to take a picture with me.
Yeah.
I'm struggling.
And I'm hoping that the younger my generation just sits back. I know that, and it is what it is. I was shocked that people were actually going out voting for the PLP when it was time to vote, and my voice was loud, was very loud. That and people were just like they didn't understand. I think that they see it now, they understand it now, and I'm hoping that people like Tarai's generation step up to the plate and they're like, no, we're going to take it. Because my generation, I feel like we just sit back and we shout for a day. This conversation here will go on probably until Friday, and then come Monday it's going to be forgotten about. We just roll with the punches, whatever happens. And the Premier did come across as dismissive, and I can say, even when we were asking our question, I feel like I needed him to be engaged. Not he's a busy person, but take this minute that you are on this show with us and engage with us. Look at us. Let's not move those papers. Let's not rustle. Let's not whatever else you're doing. Take a minute to actually engage and be present in the moment.
I'm gonna need Bermudians. I loved seeing Bermudians having fun and out doing carnival. I loved Bermuda Day, and I'm gonna love Cock Match. But holidays and alcohol.
That's what we're good at.
The only thing we love that we're good at. Holidays and alcohol are what is going to keep us where we are. Holidays and alcohol are why the Premier and this government govern the way they do, because they know, oh, what's that famous quote? This too shall pass. Tamara Richardson says, we get what we vote for. We vote for wishes and promises. That's what we get. One day soon, I hope we mature to vote for results. Demand evidence-based results. Exactly, Sancha. Undivided attention. You're right, Sancha. Ty, he doesn't have respect at all. Yes, Sancha, it was looking down for me. I mean, I think, honestly, it's not, people used to complain about Donald Trump as president all the time. And I wasn't bothered by Donald Trump. I'm not actually as bothered by David Burt. You know what bothers me more? It's the people who support them. It's the people who don't stand up to them. It's the people who allow them to do what they consistently do. And this is not an attack on David Burt as Premier. This is an attack on every last member of his cabinet, his government, his caucus, and the entire political party. The PLP as a government has been disastrous for Bermuda. Now, I don't want to hear this nonsense about who we go and vote for. That's on the Bermudian people. If you feel like there's not a better choice, that's on you. The fact that these are the kind of individuals available, when you go down that list, when you speak of the people who are no longer there, and we're left with crumbs, if we think that an accident waiting to happen, chairman, former minister, is the best we can get, man, I'm done crying. Part is over. I live in South Florida. I'm good. How about you? What's your exit plan? The UK? It's time to save our country, now or never. We can do this with the current government, or we can do it without. But that choice and that decision is up to every last one of you. And what do we say all the time? Share these conversations with your friends and your family. Because there's one thing Mama taught us. You take care of you and yours, we'll be okay. I come from a loving family. We'll be all right. But we shouldn't have to leave our country for a better life. That's not the Bermudian way. Let's fix it. Sanchi, you've got some inspiration for us, or you want to add anything else to this?
I got some inspiration for us. So, It is essential to employ, trust, and reward those perspective, ability, and judgments who's radically different from yours. It is also rare, for it requires uncommon humility, tolerance, and wisdom. And that is by D. Hawk.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, folks. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to our website. And if you haven't, make sure you sign up to be a part of the TDH community. Sancha and Sherry, we've got some events we were discussing last night, so you don't want to miss those. And maybe we'll actually invite the premier to one of our events and talk to us in person and see if it's a bit different. Let's see if it's a bit different.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sancha? You should go for it. I don't know. Anyway, thanks to our partners, Medicals, One Communications, Linders, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sancha Durham. I'm Jamel Hart with my friends. Make it a safe and great day, and let's do better. Now or never. It's your country. Peace.